Welcome to Speed Vision. As the only team that can win the annual championship title in the hands of Mercedes in the hybrid era, since the establishment of the team in 2005, Red Bull Racing reached the peak of F1 in only 5 years, and quickly became a strong team. Red Bull can achieve such brilliant achievements in F1 inseparable from the huge investment of Red Bull founder Dietrich Mateschitz, the extraordinary creativity of racing design master Adrian Newey, and the talented driver youth training system. But the one who can bring these elements together and make them work may be the real key. And this key person is Christian Horner, the leader of the Red Bull F1 team. Let's start from the beginning of his story. On November 16, 1973, he was born in Leamington, a small town in central England. His family has deep roots in the automobile manufacturing industry. His grandfather used to be a purchasing manager at Standard Motors, and later with his father, ran a local agency supplying parts to automakers. However, Christian has no interest in building cars. Instead, he likes racing and driving very much. Even at an early age, he asked his parents to buy him a go-kart, just so he could go for a spin in the garden. Finally, at the age of 12, he started his racing career and spent the next few years racing karts at all levels. By 1991, Christian had successfully obtained a scholarship from the Formula Renault driver training program. As such, he could join Manor Motorsport in the British Formula Renault Championship in 1992. In that year's competition, he not only won the championship, but also ranked the highest among all rookies at the end of the year. On the strength of his performances in Formula Renault, he was approached by P1 Motorsport in 1993, enabling him to be promoted to the British Formula 3 Championship. Coming to Formula 3, Christian didn't have much discomfort, and even performed better than he did in Formula Renault. He won 5 of the races throughout the year and finally won the annual runner-up in the British F3 Group B that year. This result gave him the opportunity to test Lotus F1 car for the 1992 season at the end of the season. It's just that he had to find a sponsor to pay for the test. Fortunately, Christian was finally able to participate in the test as he wished. And the person who gave him sponsorship was none other than Lawrence Stroll, the boss of Aston Martin. In the following 1994, he will still work hard to become a F1 driver. That year Christian joined Fortec Motorsport and went on to compete in the British Formula 3 Championship. However, after the end of the season, financial pressure began to bring many obstacles to his pursuit of dreams. In order to continue to realize his dream, he decided to buy an F3000 racing car to run the race. According to Christian's thought at the time, instead of spending money to buy a driver's seat, it is better to buy a racing car directly. In this case, at least after the end of the season, the car will still be his own, and at least he will have the opportunity to continue to show his talents. But of course, buying a race car is always a huge expense. For this reason, on the one hand, he raised as much money as possible through bank loans and borrowing money from his father. On the other hand, he can only look around for second-hand racing cars that are cheap enough. It didn't take long for him to find out that there was a second-hand F3000 racing car at a very good price in Austria, and the seller was an Austrian named Marco. That's right, this person is Helmut Marko, the advisor of the Red Bull F1 team. However, Christian did not know who Marco was at the time. But without even thinking about it, he took the cash and flew to Austria to trade with strangers. And when the two officially met, he found that the man in front of him was the former Le Mans champion Helmut Marko. At that time Marko had a team called RSM Marko running F3000 races. The drivers are Oliver Titsch from Austria and Jörg Müller from Germany. After successfully buying the car from Marko, Christian set up a team named Ardent International to participate in the F3000 series in the 1997 season. It's just that the size of the team at that time was pitifully small. He persuaded the founder of P1 Motorsport Roy Vincini to be his racing engineer and formed the team of mechanics with a part-time young man. The team headquarters was set up in a shed in the backyard of Vincini's house. As for Christian himself, in addition to being a driver in the team, he is also the manager of the team, responsible for soliciting sponsorships, doing all the paperwork, and sometimes even being a chef in charge of the team's meals. Although the situation seemed difficult, it was such a small team that ended up in the 1997 International F3000 Series. However, due to the limited funds in hand, and all the income of the team has to be solved by itself, Christian tried his best to avoid even the slightest accident during the game. This also prevented him from running very good results, and he only scored 1 point in the final race throughout the year. The following year, the Belgian paid driver Kurt Mollekens joined his team. This relieved the financial pressure of the team to some extent, and he could finally put more thoughts on driving the car. But just when everything seemed to be back to what he had imagined, the preseason test of the 1998 International F3000 Series completely changed his view of his dream, and also made him completely walk towards the road of team manager. It is said that during the preseason test at the Astori circuit in Portugal that year, Christian was overtaken by a driver who was also participating in the test before a high-speed corner. That moment made him feel very unbelievable, because in his cognition, it was impossible to overtake like this. This incident made Christian feel that he could not reach the level of top drivers. So he made the decision not to be a racing driver after finishing the 1998 season. Nevertheless, the love for racing since he was a child made him feel that he could actually change his identity and continue to try to make some achievements in the racing industry. Therefore, after deciding not to be a racing driver, Christian changed his goal to make his Ardent International a successful team, and devoted himself to the team's construction. As for the driver who changed his career direction during the preseason test, he is actually an old acquaintance. He is the Colombian driver Juan Pablo Montoya, who later successfully entered F1. In this way, he ended his career as a racing driver when he was 25 years old, and became a team manager completely. Although at this time Christian must also solve the problem of the team's shortage of funds. But it didn't take long for him to meet a savior. This gentleman is also a familiar face. He is the boss of ProDrive, David Richards. Because ProDrive cooperated with Russia's Lukoil in the touring car race. And Viktor Maslov, the son of Lukoil's boss, hopes to be able to compete in the F3000. So David Richards contacted Christian and asked how much it would cost to buy 50% of Ardent International shares. Hearing that there was a large consortium wanting to join the team, he made some calculations. And he also gave the other party an offer that he thought was outrageous, but it is very likely that the money was eventually paid by Lukoil, and Richards may benefit from it. So Richards readily agreed. He also asked Christian to move the team to ProDrive's headquarters in Banbury to work together. And after having sufficient funds to enter the team, he can also allow the team to operate 2 F3000 racing cars to participate in the 1999 season. Just like Nikita Mazepin paid to participate in F1 races in the past 2 years, although doing so can free the team from financial pressure, but the performance of the team is often not guaranteed. In fact, his team's performance in the 1999 F3000 season can be said to be a disaster. The whole year team can't even get a single point. This is obviously unacceptable to Christian, who is determined to make the team successful. So after the end of the season, he decided not to cooperate with the sponsor Maslov after the contract expired in 2001. At the same time, he bought back 50% of the team from ProDrive. On the other hand, he also signed the powerful British driver Darren Manning to fight for points for the team. There is no doubt that his operation has indeed played a certain role. In the 2000 and 2001 seasons, Darren Manning made 3 podium finishes for Christian's team. Among them, 2 runners-up and a 3rd runner-up were won. Seeing that the team's performance has improved, he decided to continue the operation of letting excellent drivers lead the team. In 2002, a new lineup of drivers was put on, One was the Czech driver Thomas Engel, who won the third place in the 2001 season, and the other was the potential rising star Björn Werdheim from Sweden. That year his choice proved correct again. These two drivers won 5 races for the team, and Arden International also won the team championship of the International F3000 series in one fell swoop. If Engel hadn't been disqualified from the championship in Hungary because he failed a drug test, then Christian's team could even win the drivers' and teams' championships that season. After the end of the season, Engel was suspended by the FIA for 1 year due to a drug test problem. He chose to sign American driver Townsend Bell to replace Engel. Although the newcomer Bell only had 1 podium for the team in the 2003 season, Björn Werdheim was surprisingly good back then. Except for the Nürburgring throughout the year, the rest of the substations can finish the race with the top 2. And won the annual driver championship with 35 potential. Such a strong performance allowed Arden International to successfully defend the team's championship. After 3 years of hard work, Christian has achieved his goal and developed Arden International into the top F3000 team. And at this moment, Helmut Marko, who helped him at the beginning, appeared. In 2004, the Red Bull youth team managed by Marko left F3000. For this reason, Marko hopes to sell the potential Italian driver Vittorio Liuzzi to him so that Liuzzi can continue to participate in F3000. He accepted Marko's proposal, and after Liuzzi joined Arden International, he did not disappoint Christian. He won 7 wins in 10 races throughout the year, and became the contributor to Arden International's annual double championship. At the same time, with this deal, he finally realized his dream of entering F1. The details are like this. Before meeting Helmut Marko again, Christian, who has just turned 30, actually has plans to acquire a ready-made team and enter F1. At that time he learned from Bernie Ecclestone that Eddie Jordan was going to sell the team. So he started negotiations with Eddie Jordan, but the price was not negotiated so that the deal could not be reached. In desperation, he could only prepare to participate in GP2 in 2005. And even signed Heikki Kovalainen and Nicolas Lapierre for his team. While negotiating with the Jordan team and meeting Marko again, Christian knew that Red Bull's boss Dietrich Mateschitz actually wanted to run an F1 team. And the two met once under the arrangement of Marko. In November 2004, Red Bull successfully bought the Jaguar team from Ford. Because Mateschitz does not want to continue to use the original Jaguar management team. At this time, he and Marko just thought of Christian Horner, who intends to lead the team into F1. So before Christmas in 2004, he received an invitation from Marko to meet Mateschitz in Salzburg. Then Mateschitz told Christian about his vision for Red Bull racing in F1, and hoped that Christian could help him realize it. As a result, on January 7, 2005, Christian, who was only 31 years old, was officially appointed as the head of the team at the Red Bull Racing headquarters in Milton Keynes, becoming the youngest F1 team leader at the time. Although he finally realized his original dream of entering F1, he also knows that the task before him is unprecedentedly difficult. After all, his boss Mateschitz wants Red Bull Racing to succeed in F1. Fortunately, the experience of bringing Arden International into the top F3000 team from scratch made Christian a team manager with clear goals and clear thinking. After learning about the team's facilities and management personnel, he quickly discovered that the team's employees at that time generally lacked purpose and confidence after experiencing the downturn in the Jaguar era. At the same time, there is no one to give them technical guidance, and the team's infrastructure is not very good, which also leads to the team's inability to produce high-quality cars. However, it is clear that these problems will not be resolved in a short time. 8 weeks after he took office, the F1 2005 season opener is coming. So Christian got the team to focus on the basics first, with the goal of making sure the team could score more points than the Jaguars did in 2004. And he also accurately grasped the key to achieve this goal, that is the experienced Scottish driver David Coulthard. After leaving McLaren to join Red Bull, Coulthard felt that his F1 career was drawing to a close. But he tried to restore Coulthard's confidence as much as possible and hoped that his experience at McLaren could bring Red Bull the operating mode of F1's top team. And probably because he feels that he is valued, Coulthard did make a lot of contributions to the team in his first season at Red Bull. He finished fourth in the opening game and has broken into the points zone 6 times in the first 8 games of the season. As a result, Red Bull scored a total of 34 points in the 2005 season, more points than the Jaguars in the previous 2 seasons combined. While ensuring that the performance has improved compared with the previous Jaguar team, Christian actually started a plan to make Red Bull stronger. Different from races that use unified specification cars, Christian knows the importance of having a fast car in F1 races. So he was looking for someone who could develop a top-level car for Red Bull. Coincidentally, when Red Bull set up the energy station in the paddock, it attracted a designer named Adrian Newey. At Imola in 2005, Adrian Newey, then at McLaren, was curious about Red Bull's power station. He took the legendary designer around for a tour. Later in Monaco, Newey took the initiative to see Red Bull's Star Wars-themed energy station. Newey's behavior made him feel that he had a chance to persuade the racing design guru to join the team. So under the arrangement of David Coulthard, Christian had dinner with Newey in July of that year. Then in October, Christian took Newey to Austria to have lunch with Mateschitz. And that night he expressed the hope that Newey could join Red Bull Racing. At first things didn't go as smoothly as he expected, because Newey's salary demand was 70% higher than what he had planned. But Mateschitz didn't think too much about it and said that the matter could go on. So on November 8, 2005, Red Bull's external official announced that Newey would serve as the Chief Technical Officer of Red Bull Racing from February 2006. According to reports that year, Newey's annual salary at Red Bull reached $10 million, which was much higher than the previous $6.5 million at McLaren. Although he signed the strongest racing designer in F1 at that time, this was actually just one of Christian's operations to strengthen the Red Bull technical team. In fact, in 2006, Christian brought many powerful people to the Red Bull team. For example, Rob Marshall, who designed mass shock absorbers for the Renault R25, became Red Bull Racing's chief designer, and Jonathan Wheatley, formerly Renault's chief mechanic, became Red Bull Racing's sporting director. In addition, Peter Prodromou, who assisted Newey at McLaren, became the head of aerodynamics at Red Bull Racing. Paul Morahan, who had played for Renault and Jordan, also became the team's racing engineering director, and so on. Of course, the people mentioned above basically joined Red Bull at the end of 2005 or early 2006. In addition, before Newey came to the team, the development of Red Bull RB2 had also been completed. Therefore, Christian set the 2006 season as a transitional season, allowing the new members to fully adapt and wait until 2007 to challenge higher goals. In the 2006 season, Red Bull suffered from the reliability problems of Ferrari's engine and its performance declined, but David Coulthard made his first podium for the team in Monaco. Christian also fulfilled his promise before the game, put on a Superman cape after the game, and jumped directly into the swimming pool to celebrate. When the time came to 2007, Newey began to design a car for Red Bull, and Red Bull switched to an engine provided by Renault. At the same time, Mark Webber also came to the team to partner with David Coulthard. The team structure established by Christian has started to operate at this time. The team's performance has not improved significantly. Although Mark Webber won a third place for Red Bull Racing in the European Grand Prix, the reliability of Renault's engine caused RB3 to retire many times throughout the year, and Red Bull could only rank 5th in the annual constructors' standings with 24 points. This situation has not changed much until the 2008 season, but he wasn't discouraged by it. In his view, this is just the price that must be paid for the growth of the team. And in order for everyone in the team to better cohere and play their best role, he will call a meeting with everyone in the team after each Grand Prix. Everyone summarized and discussed the progress of the team and clarified the next goals. At the same time, Christian encouraged all departments of the team to establish efficient communication channels with each other. After a series of hard work, the rules of F1 were greatly changed in the 2009 season, which finally gave the Red Bull team an opportunity to achieve their goals. Although the Red Bull RB5 did not use the double diffuser and the kinetic energy recovery system, however, during the pre-season test, the car proved to be fully capable of hitting the championship. As a result, Sebastian Vettel, who was promoted from Toro Rosso, won the first victory in team history for Red Bull Racing in the third Chinese Grand Prix of the season. Mark Webber's runner-up also allowed Red Bull to take the first two places in the race for the first time. As the season progressed, RB5 became faster and faster, and even surpassed Braun GP001 to become the fastest car in the paddock. Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber later brought the team 5 victories, and 3 of them were brought back by 1 or 2. In the end, Sebastian won the Drivers' Runner-Up of the Year. The Red Bull Racing team also became the runner-up of the annual team that season. In the coming year, Red Bull's goal is to hit the annual championship. However, the reliability problem of RB6 prevented Sebastian from achieving pole to win in the first 2 games of the season. At the same time, Red Bull is also caught in the trouble of driver infighting. The infighting at the Turkish Grand Prix not only allowed Red Bull to be overtaken by McLaren in constructors' points, the relationship between the two drivers suddenly became extremely tense. However, the accident did not prompt Christian to use the management style of the first and second drivers. In his view, the interests of the team are the first. This also explains why he suggested in the post-race interview that Mark Webber was responsible for the accident. Because Mark Webber, who was running in economical mode, was indeed slower than Sebastian Vettel, who was sprinting at full speed. And even if the two switch positions, there is actually no problem for the team. As for which driver the team should favor in terms of strategy, Christian believes that it depends on who can bring the team victory. So we see now that when Sergio Perez has a better chance of winning the championship, or can grab more points for the team will also favor him strategically. It is not because Max Verstappen came from the Red Bull youth training and won the World Championship that Max should always run ahead of Sergio Perez. After clarifying this principle, in the following races, Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel did not have any team infighting. Red Bull also returned to the first place in the constructors' standings after the Hungarian Grand Prix. Then in the Brazilian Grand Prix, the penultimate race of the season, Red Bull achieved the championship and runner-up, and secured its first annual team championship 1 round ahead of schedule. Therefore, at the age of 36, Christian became the youngest champion team leader in F1 history. Sebastian Vettel, who started from pole position in the final Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, successfully won the championship. Since Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso could not get points in a higher position, Sebastian Vettel successfully reversed and won the annual driver championship. Successfully won the annual double championship, Red Bull Racing finally became the top team in F1. And Christian did not forget to reward every employee in the team who was paid for this. Even the cleaners who are responsible for hygiene in the team office can enjoy the same reward of £10,000 as other employees in the team. In the next 3 years, Red Bull Racing became a model of excellent teams in the paddock. The top speed cars and the perfectly functioning race team have given Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber the ability to harvest one championship after another. Even if it encounters an unfavorable start like the 2012 season finale, the Red Bull team at that time can still reverse and win. From 2010 to 2013, the Red Bull team led by Christian won the annual team and driver championships for 4 consecutive seasons. He was therefore awarded an OBE in 2013 in recognition of his contribution to motorsport. In just a few years, he has shaped Red Bull into a wealthy F1 team. His management ability is indeed beyond doubt. But what people didn't expect was that F1's rules were changed again, which brought the end of the Red Bull dynasty. In the era of 1.6T hybrid engine, the instability of Renault engine made Red Bull unable to pose any threat to Mercedes in the annual championship competition for a long time. Facing the immediate predicament, the past operating experience of the team told Christian that he could only focus on the things he could control. And one of them was to ensure that the team had two drivers who could help the team grab points as much as possible. So in those few years, Red Bull's approach was to promote drivers who performed well from Toro Rosso. The drivers who originally played for Red Bull, if they perform poorly, will be sent to Toro Rosso or traded to other teams. So we saw that Sebastian Vettel's performance was inferior to Daniel Ricciardo's and then moved to Ferrari. Daniil Kvyat did not perform well, so he returned to Toro Rosso halfway through the season. Max Verstappen was promoted to Red Bull from Toro Rosso, won the championship in the first race, and his outstanding performance allowed him to stay in the team. Later, Daniel Ricciardo's condition declined and he was replaced by Pierre Gasly of Toro Rosso. But Pierre Gasly performed poorly and eventually returned to Toro Rosso, and his seat was replaced by Toro Rosso driver Alexander Albon. But of course, when there is a more suitable driver to choose, even if it is not a driver from the Red Bull youth training, Christian will not miss it. That's why Sergio Perez came to Red Bull to replace Albon in 2022. After teaming up with Honda, the competitiveness of Red Bull's racing car began to gradually increase, and finally in the 2021 season it is possible to hit the annual championship again. Max Verstappen's heroics kept him at the top of the Drivers' Championship for most of the season. And Christian also did his best to help Max Verstappen win the Drivers' Championship for Red Bull, including diverting the attention of the media by quarreling with other teams. The purpose is to allow drivers to focus on the race without external interference, and at the same time, the team also gave Max Verstappen as much support as possible to help him win. This scene of the whole team working together to achieve the goal was perfectly reflected in the final battle of the season. Although Max Verstappen was overtaken by Lewis Hamilton after the start. Afterwards, Sergio Perez's two critical blocks. The perfect decision-making of the entire strategy team, and every pit stop operation with zero mistakes finally allowed Max to successfully reverse Lewis. After 7 years, the Red Bull Racing Team won the annual team and driver double championship again. Today, Christian has spent 17 seasons as the team leader of the Red Bull F1 team. He went from the youngest F1 team leader to the longest-serving team leader in the paddock. Of course, given Christian's importance to Red Bull, he should stay in this position for a long time. After winning the annual championship twice in 2021 and 2022, Red Bull is already working hard for 3 consecutive championships in 2023. This episode is coming to an end, and everyone is welcome to leave comments. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching.